If you think tea is always the safe drink after 70, here's what most people get wrong. Sometimes it is not the tea leaf that hurts you. It is the way that tea is made, loaded, concentrated, sweetened, or used in place of real nourishment. And the number I want you to remember is 300. 300 milligrams of caffeine a day. Cross that line often enough, and your bones may start paying the bill. Quietly. Now, this is not really about tea. Not in the small, cozy sense. This is about whether you can get out of a chair without using both hands, whether you can catch yourself when you trip on a curb, whether a simple fall becomes a hip fracture, a hospital stay, and 6 hard months that steal your confidence. Bone loss is sneaky. You do not feel it happening. There is no alarm bell, no warning light. 1 year, you are carrying groceries. The next year, you are thinking twice about stairs. That is why this matters. My name is Dr. David Reynolds. I'm a physician, and for more than 15 years, I've worked with older adults, studied the slow mechanics of frailty, and followed what the research says about nutrition, caffeine, hydration, bone density, falls, and independence. I have cared for patients after wrist fractures, spine fractures, and hip fractures that seem to come out of nowhere. And I can tell you, my first reaction usually is not fear, it is frustration, because so many of these risks build from ordinary daily habits nobody ever explained clearly. I'm not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. I'm here to give you the plain truth. And stay with me until the end, because the one that surprises people most is not the strongest tea. It is the one marketed as gentle, soothing, and natural, the kind many older adults drink every night and never think twice about. Before I give you the 6 teas, I want to give you a simple framework, because when you understand the mechanism, you stop memorizing random rules and start protecting yourself on purpose. There are 3 main ways a tea habit can work against your bones after 70. First is calcium balance. Think of calcium like construction material delivered to a building site. Your skeleton is that building site. If you lose too much calcium in your urine or you never take enough in, the body starts pulling from the warehouse. And that warehouse is bone. Second is bone remodeling. That is just a medical term for the constant repair job your skeleton is doing. Old bone is removed, new bone is laid down. Think of it like road maintenance at night. If the repair crew falls behind, the surface may still look fine for a while, but underneath it is getting weaker. Third is stability. This one matters more than many people realize. Some teas do not directly dissolve bone, but they can dry you out, drop your potassium, raise your blood pressure, weaken your muscles, or make you lightheaded. And weak bones plus a fall is the combination we fear most. Keep those 3 mechanisms in mind: calcium balance, bone remodeling, and stability. We're going to come back to them again and again. Number 1, extra strong black tea all day long. Let's start with the one people least want to hear about because it sounds so harmless. A very strong black tea, brewed dark and sipped cup after cup from morning to evening. Here's what it does inside you. The issue is not that 1 cup of black tea is dangerous. It isn't. In fact, moderate tea drinking may even help some people. The problem is when the dose becomes a delivery system for too much caffeine. Think of caffeine like a faucet that can make your kidneys leak a little more calcium than they should. Not gallons, drips. But after 70, drips matter. One study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed 96 women with an average age of 71 for 3 years. The researchers found that women taking in more than about 300 milligrams of caffeine a day had a faster rate of bone loss at the spine than women below that level. 300. That is not a small number, and if you brew tea very strong or keep refilling a giant mug, you can get there more easily than you think. So what should you do instead? Keep black tea moderate. For most older adults, that means 1 to 3 regular cups, not giant tumblers, and not brewed like syrup. Try to keep it earlier in the day, and if your calcium intake is low, do not let heavy tea drinking stack on top of that. Have it with a calcium-rich food, or make sure you are getting calcium elsewhere across the day. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Margaret, 76 years old from Tulsa. She came to me convinced she barely drank caffeine. Just tea, she said. But when we walked through it carefully, it was a breakfast mug, a mid-morning mug, an after-lunch mug, and an evening mug, each one steeped until it looked almost black-purple. Her total caffeine was not mild, it was high. She also skipped dairy and rarely ate yogurt. We changed two things, weaker brewing and a real calcium source every day. 6 months later, she told me the afternoon shakiness was gone, her sleep improved, and for the first time she understood that just tea can still be a stimulant habit. The benefit of fixing this is not dramatic overnight magic. It is steadier calcium balance, fewer small withdrawals from the bank. Number 2. Concentrated matcha or energy tea drinks. Number 2 is concentrated matcha, or those modern energy tea drinks that sound cleaner than coffee, so people assume they are gentler. Sometimes they are not. Here's what it does inside you. Matcha is ground tea leaf, not just leaf water. That means you are taking the whole leaf in. In moderation, that can be fine. But in concentrated amounts, it can turn a calm ritual into a stimulant blast. Think of a normal cup of tea like a porch light. Think of a concentrated tea powder drink like a floodlight. Same source, very different intensity. Now here is the nuance that matters. A large prospective study from the UK Biobank followed 487,594 adults for a median of nearly 13 years. Moderate tea intake, around 3 to 4 cups a day, was associated with a lower risk of osteoporosis, about 15% lower than in non-tea drinkers. That is important because it tells us something very practical. More is not always better. There seems to be a sweet spot. Once people start concentrating tea into powders, stacking it with other caffeine, or drinking it as an energy product, they are no longer in that moderate sweet spot. If you ignore this, the likely consequence is not that one matcha drink suddenly hollows out your skeleton. The consequence is that you edge upward in caffeine, sleep worse, eat less real food, lose a little more calcium, and slowly shift into the exact pattern older bones do not need. So what should you do instead? If you like matcha, keep it simple. 1 modest serving. 1 level teaspoon, not a heaping scoop followed by another in the afternoon. Avoid combining it with coffee, pre-workout powders, or metabolism drinks. And if a tea product is marketed mainly around buzz, burn, or focus, treat it like a stimulant, not like a wellness tonic. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Robert, age 72, from Phoenix. He switched from coffee to a powdered tea drink because the label looked clean and green. His words, not mine. By noon, he had already had 2 tall servings. He felt proud of the switch, but he was jittery, eating less lunch, and waking at 3 in the morning. Once we counted his caffeine honestly, he was stunned. We cut it down, moved it to mornings only, and got protein back into lunch. His weight stabilized, his balance felt better, his hand tremor eased. Stay with me until the end because the next 2 are the ones that fool people by wearing a tea label while behaving more like dessert. Number 3, bottled sweet tea. Number 3 is bottled sweet tea. Not homemade unsweetened iced tea. I mean the kind that comes in a bottle, a jug, or a drive-through cup with enough sugar to make it feel smooth, comforting, and very easy to overdrink. Here's what it does inside you. Sugar does not directly vacuum calcium out of a bone. The damage is more indirect and more chronic. Think of your bloodstream like a river delivery system. When that river is repeatedly flooded with sugar, you get bigger insulin swings, more appetite disruption, often more weight gain around the middle, and in many people, more inflammation. Inflammation is just the body's internal alarm system staying switched on too often. Bones do not remodel well in a body that is chronically over-alarmed. The tea label can hide that reality because people say it's tea when what they are really drinking is liquid sugar with tea flavor attached. In the Nurses' Health Study, researchers found that each additional daily serving of sugary soft drink was linked to about a 14% higher risk of hip fracture in postmenopausal women. That study was not specifically about sweet tea, but it matters because the mechanism is the same. A sugar-heavy beverage pattern replacing better options year after year. Again, that is not a small number. The consequence, if this becomes your daily habit, is that you may crowd out the foods your bones actually need: protein, calcium, magnesium, vitamin D from fortified foods. And you may drive the kind of metabolic wear and tear that makes bone maintenance harder. So what should you do instead? Treat sweet tea like dessert, not hydration. If you love it, have a small glass with a meal once in a while, not a giant refillable cup every day. Better yet, make tea at home and sweeten lightly, or mix half unsweetened with half sweet to retrain your taste buds. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Gloria, 79 years old, from Macon. She told me she never ate sweets, and she meant it. No cookies, no pie, most days. But she drank 2 large glasses of sweet tea every afternoon over ice, so cold the glass sweated onto the table. That was her dessert. That was her hydration. That was her habit. Once she swapped one of those for water and the other for lightly sweetened tea with dinner, her blood sugar readings improved, she lost a little belly weight, and she stopped feeling that heavy sleepiness after lunch. Number 4, diet iced tea and zero sugar. Tea drinks. Number 4 is the one that sparks debate every time: diet iced tea and zero sugar tea drinks. Let me be careful here. I am not saying one diet tea will ruin your bones. I am saying that when these become your all-day beverage pattern, especially in people already eating poorly, we should stop pretending they are nutritionally neutral. Here's what it does inside you. These drinks often keep the caffeine, keep the habit of constant sipping, keep the hyper-sweet taste, and sometimes keep you from relearning what plain water or unsweetened tea tastes like. Think of it like painting over rust. The surface looks cleaner, but the underlying pattern may not actually improve. A recent UK Biobank analysis looked at roughly 171,000 adults for osteoporosis and about 168,000 for fracture outcomes. People drinking more than one serving a day of artificially sweetened beverages had a 29% higher risk of osteoporosis and an 11% higher fracture risk. That does not prove a single diet tea causes bone loss. It does tell us that heavy reliance on artificially sweetened drinks clusters with worse bone outcomes, and older adults should not dismiss that. So, what should you do instead? If you use a diet tea to move away from sweet tea, fine. Use it as a bridge, not a destination. One serving sometimes, not a refrigerator shelf full of them. Train your palate toward unsweetened iced tea, sparkling water, lemon water, or plain water. Your body likes boring more than your marketing brain does. Let me tell you about someone I'll call James, 80 years old, from Dayton. He proudly told me he had given up soda years ago. Good move. But he had replaced it with 4 canned, zero-sugar teas a day. He thought he had solved the problem. In reality, he had just changed costumes. We cut that down to 1 with lunch, switched the rest to water and plain tea, and within weeks he was less bloated, less thirsty at night, and eating real meals again, instead of grazing on processed snacks. So what should you do instead? Use diet tea strategically, not reflexively, and ask yourself an honest question. Is this helping me build a healthier pattern, or just preserving the old one with a different label? Number 5. Detox or slimming teas with senna. Number 5 is detox tea, slimming tea, flat belly tea, the kind with senna or other stimulant laxatives hidden behind words like cleanse and reset. This is the one that worries me in older adults more than many realize. Here's what it does inside you. Senna pushes the bowel. That is its job. It is a laxative, not a fat burner, not a mineral restorer, not a longevity tonic. If you use it occasionally for short-term constipation under proper guidance, that is one thing. But if you use it over and over as a wellness drink, you can drift toward dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Electrolytes are your body's electrical salts, things like sodium and potassium. Think of potassium like battery power for your muscles and nerves. When it drops, legs can feel weak, the heart can misfire, and balance can get worse. A geriatric review literature and nursing home data have shown electrolyte imbalances are common in older adults, reported in some settings in up to about 36% of residents, and clinicians worry about falls for exactly this reason. The tea itself is not shaving bone away like sandpaper, but if it dries you out, weakens you, or makes you unsteady, it raises the odds of the fracture event that exposes weak bone. The consequence of ignoring this can be serious. A little dizziness, a rushed walk to the bathroom at night, a leg that feels weak on the stairs, one slip, one wrist fracture, one hip fracture. This is why I do not shrug off detox teas in a 75-year-old. So what should you do instead? First, stop using a laxative tea as a daily health ritual unless your own physician specifically told you to. For constipation, start with the basics: more fluid, more fiber, a regular bathroom schedule, walking after meals, and foods like prunes or kiwi if they work for you. If you truly need a bowel medication, use it as medicine, not as a lifestyle beverage. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Helen, 74 years old, from Sacramento. She drank a cleanse tea 3 nights a week because it made her feel lighter by morning. What she actually felt was emptied out. She also felt weak, dry-mouthed, and shaky getting out of bed. When we stopped the tea, increased daytime fluids, and treated the real constipation directly, the morning weakness faded. She had been calling that weakness just aging. It was not. Here's the part that should concern you most. Products sold as natural often escape the skepticism people would bring to a prescription pill. But natural is not the same thing as gentle. Number 6. Licorice root tea. Number 6 is licorice root tea. And yes, this is the one I told you would surprise you. People drink licorice tea for the throat, for the stomach, for adrenal support, for stress, for sleep, for comfort. It sounds soft, herbal, old-fashioned, safe. Here's what it does inside you. Real licorice root contains a compound called glycyrrhizin. That is a mouthful, so let me translate it. It is a plant chemical that can trick the body into acting as if certain hormone signals are turned up too high. Think of it like someone messing with the thermostat in your blood pressure and mineral control system. The result can be higher blood pressure, lower potassium, fluid retention, and muscle weakness. And that matters for bones because weak muscles and unstable blood pressure create falls, while low potassium can signal a body under mineral stress. There was a retrospective study of 84 people on long-term licorice-containing therapy that found mild low potassium in about 10.7% of them. That is enough for me to pay attention, especially in older adults taking blood pressure medicine, water pills, heart medications, or steroids. Another thing to remember is that elderly patients tend to have less margin for error. What a younger body shrugs off, an older body may feel hard. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Irene, age 81, from Jacksonville. She had started drinking licorice root tea in the evening because a friend told her it was good for the nerves. She liked the sweet smell, the almost candy-like aftertaste, and the comfort of the warm mug in her hands. Over time, she noticed more ankle swelling and occasional leg weakness. Her blood pressure, which had been steady, started drifting up. Once we caught the licorice habit and took it out, things improved. Not magically, but clearly. So what should you do instead? If you enjoy herbal tea at night, choose lower-risk options like chamomile, ginger, peppermint, or rooibos, assuming those work with your own medical situation. And if you do use licorice tea at all, do not make it a daily long-term habit after 70 without discussing it with your physician or pharmacist. Let's bring it all together. Number 1 was extra strong black tea all day long. The issue there is caffeine load and calcium balance. When tea becomes a steady high-dose stimulant, you may lose more calcium and accelerate the kind of bone loss older adults can least afford. Number 2 was concentrated matcha and energy tea drinks. The lesson there is that moderate tea may fit inside a healthy pattern, but concentration changes the dose. Think of a drizzle versus a downpour. Same water. Different effect. Number 3 was bottled sweet tea. That one works against you through sugar load, metabolic strain, and displacement of better food and drink choices. It wears a tea costume, but inside the body it behaves much more like a dessert beverage. Number 4 was diet or zero sugar tea when it becomes your all-day replacement for real hydration. The research does not say one can is poison. It says heavy reliance on artificially sweetened drinks is linked with worse bone outcomes, and that should make you pause. Number 5 was detox and slimming teas with senna. The problem there is not fat burning, it is dehydration, electrolyte shifts, weakness, nighttime urgency, and falls. And number 6 was licorice root tea, the deceptively gentle one. That can disrupt potassium and blood pressure in a way that makes older bodies less stable and less protected. Step 1. Tonight, look at the teas in your kitchen, not just the boxes. Read the labels. Check for caffeine, sugar, artificial sweeteners, senna, and licorice root. Step 2. Count your real daily caffeine. Not what you guess, what you actually drink. If you are pushing past about 300 milligrams a day, especially after 70, pull it back. Step 3. Make one swap this week. Replace one bottled tea with water, unsweetened tea, or sparkling water with lemon. Step 4. If you use a detox or cleanse tea, stop and ask why. Is it constipation, bloating, habit, or marketing? Solve the actual problem instead of flattering the label. Step 5. Protect the other side of the equation. Get enough protein. Get calcium from food if you can. Keep vitamin D in a healthy range with your doctor's guidance. And use your muscles. A short walk after meals. Sit to stands from a chair. Light strength work. Bones listen to muscles. Step 6. If you have had a fracture, a kidney stone, osteoporosis, low potassium, or you take blood pressure pills, bring your tea habits up at your next appointment. Do not assume they are too trivial to mention. I want to end here because this is bigger than tea. After 70, people talk about aging as if it is only about luck, as if one person is blessed and another is not. But a great deal of aging is shaped by quiet repetition. What you drink every day, what you skip every day, what you believe is harmless because no one ever challenged it. That is why I care about something as ordinary as tea, because ordinary habits build extraordinary outcomes, in both directions. And if you needed to hear this today, hear this part clearly. No matter your age, no matter what your last bone scan said, no matter how long the habit has been with you, it is never too late. If you want more clear, science-based guidance like this, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And in the comments, tell me this. Which tea is in your kitchen right now, and did any one of these surprise you? I read every single comment.